ZombieTech. Welcome to ZombieTech, a forum for engineers, scientists, and inventors to ponder on the technologies needed to survive the inevitable zombie apocalypse.
She's Eddie.
He's Whisker.
And who do we have this week?
We have Peter the Thinker.
Wait, wasn't he supposed to be 2 weeks ago?
Yes, but he was busy
going to the hospital.
Correct.
Which we'll accept as a valid reason.
Yes. So, but you are okay now.
Oh, absolutely.
Good. Okay.
I don't know if Peter was ever really okay.
Peter is just awesome. So we know him from our IRC, and he is just, well, you're just a spitfire, Peter.
Wait, isn't that an airplane from World War II? I think it is.
I have no idea, but you would probably know. So you have done a lot of really random projects. Can you name off a few of them and like your favorite techie ones?
Most geeky would probably be the ACES, the Advanced Climate Enhancement Suit. The most extreme, Tesla coils, naturally.
Mm-hmm.
And the most down-to-earth and practical, well, toaster.
Toaster? You've made a toaster?
It's called Toaster, the totally amazingly simple transportation electric ride.
What's that?
My electric bicycle.
Oh, gotcha. So, I guess we can start with your heat suit. Well, first, actually, any other projects that come to mind before we go into them?
There's about a bajillion more I've done before I moved out to Iowa, but those are the most notable and the most well-documented, too.
Okay. So, your heat suit. Now, we've seen it a couple times at the Parallax Expo last year, and I'm trying to think what else. I mean, I think you got a local newspaper.
Yeah, on the television station near his college interviewed him this winter because he was marching around campus inside of his heat suit while everybody else was freezing their butts off.
Right. So how did that heat suit idea come about, and how'd you make it?
Well, I'll be honest. Part of it is actually a costume. Part of it actually is very functional. I've always been obsessed with space. Apollo 13 came out in the 90s, and I absolutely really wanted a spacesuit for a Halloween costume.
Mm-hmm.
Well, fast forward to Iowa. It's getting kind of cold. I came here a few years ago, left, couldn't actually handle the cold, and I came back, and I realized I've got to keep warm somehow. So I said I can wear lots of clothes. A lot of people wear these things called Carhartts, so like bibs and whatnot. But I decided, well, I'm a geek. There has to be an easier way, or harder, depending on how you look at it. I said, well, what can I do? And I said to myself, well, I can put heating coils on my body. Great, get burned to death. Or I can make what amounts to basically a dry suit.
Yeah.
Equivalent to a wetsuit in the world. A wetsuit has many layers of neoprene, and it does by insulation by trapped air. Well, the dry suit does the same thing. It also keeps you dry. And I figured if I can keep the wind out of my face and my head warm, the rest of the body will keep warm too. And, well, I just basically went online, looked at various spacesuits, and said, well, a spacesuit does three things. It contains air,
mm-hmm.
It protects against micrometeoroids, and it protects against temperature changes. Well, meteoroids or snowballs, not a big deal. Vacuum of space, not too much of an issue since we're on Earth. But the thermal part, big issue.
Mm-hmm.
So I started taking ideas from off some NASA's old suits and said, well, I can copy this. I'm a costume designer. I might as well try.
Sure.
And really, I built the first part of the first version in less than an hour, the pants.
Oh.
Made the pants to an old jacket of mine, covered it all in orange fabric, so it looks kind of acceptable out there. And in less than 2 weeks, I had a working, basically, spacesuit. And the key feature is, how this thing really works is it keeps you warm by trapping the heat in, but not trapping your breath in. It works basically as a continuous airflow, air from the outside going in, and it leaks out. But because it powers up with compressed air, like a Michelin Man, your body very rarely touches the actual suit. So you're not, heat sinking your heat of your body out to the atmosphere. You're actually just kind of in this warm, fuzzy ball of air.
Of your own heat. So So you're saying there's compressed air in there? You pump air into it, or what?
There's a small computer, actually large-ish, 80mm computer, actually 90, I'm sorry, 90mm computer fan on top of the actual helmet that pushes in forced air. There is a provision for a actual resistive heating bank to add warmth to the air, but actually the airflow velocity is so high, the temperature bump up from the actual resistors wasn't anything even really measurable, barely. So I just scrapped those after the first week. And in really all honesty, as long as you wear some good thermals underneath the suit, you don't actually need to have the heater on. Just the forced air coming in the suit, but being kind of trapped is enough where I have yet to be actually, quote, cold.
That's pretty impressive. So then, what system did you choose to run it, your computer system?
Well, this current system actually is dumb. It's got diodes and voltage regulators, basically, so I don't explode the onboard lithium battery. It's just basically power supply electronics. There is a provision in place to use a basic stamp or hopefully a propeller chip or whatnot. The issue I ran into is that there really isn't any need. This thing, you turn it on at full bore and it just seems to work. Now, eventually, I'd like to, for the geek factor, add an LCD module to the wrist where I can actually get up and down, the speed of the fan, and also, and more importantly, actually get a battery gauge going so I know time till dead, how much till Peter runs out of air.
Right. So say the fan doesn't...
No, wait.
What?
So if, there's zombies and you just sort of, walked north, eventually you'd get somewhere where it was so cold that the zombies would freeze, and
but you'd stay
you
warm.
would still be okay as long as you had your heater thing there.
Correct. I'd never been able to test it this cold before, but I speculate down to minus 40, it's still effective. Wow. I mean, if the curves I've calculated are still, I don't know if they're linear or not, but they appear to be. I mean, yes, on the inside it'll only be 60 degrees. Basically, at around 20 degrees outside, I clock 80 on the inside. So if you take that regression curve, I can still maintain a pretty good amount of temperature differential, even down to minus 40, with some layers on the inside, which is pretty impressive for what amounts to be a glorified spacesuit.
Right. So then, so if the fan stops working, there's no airflow?
Correct. Although here's the thing, though. Because a computer fan is not all blocked up, it's actually pretty open space. You actually can see the light.
So you still have a little bit.
You do. And actually, I've done some scientific studies with a CO2 monitor from Parallax, actually, to see, and I took international standards from anesthesiologists I know and said, what is the maximum ppm you can have, parts per million you can have for a human being for CO2, out of your breathable air mixture. I'm also advanced now a diver, too, so I've got a lot of background in that whole kind of things. Sure. So I said, what's safe, what's dangerous, and what's permissible. And actually, ironically enough, as long as you're not actually trying to dance a jig or run a cross-country marathon, the fan can actually die and not actually put you in immediate risk.
Right.
You're going to fog up the suit pretty bad, but as far as CO2 hurting you, it's not likely going to happen. In fact, I also did some tests with an ECG on a treadmill and actually tried to overbreathe the suit. Couldn't do it. The alarm never got anywhere close to threshold points. That's why when I passed out at Parallax, being tired in my little suit, I was in no danger.
Now, for those who missed it, last year at the expo in Rockland at Parallax headquarters, Peter wore his suit, and there was a lot of live streaming and chatting and such going on. Eddie and I were watching the live stream, and they pointed the camera at Peter, and we were talking to him in the IRC, and he fell asleep while chatting to us, and the camera was aimed right at him. So we screen capped it and got a nice little video of Peter in this crazy spaceman outfit, sleeping with a laptop in his lap, surrounded by a bunch of hackers playing with Parallax electronics equipment in the middle of the night. It was... it's just one of those circumstances that one would never expect to happen in the universe and will probably never again happen until April, when Peter probably falls asleep in his heat suit
and then we'll be right there to film it.
I will have my good camera
and
this
to witness
time, Peter.
I'm actually thinking of not bringing it because it was so unprofessional looking and it looked really kind of cheesy. And everyone's already seen it, but... There are some art projects that I'm actually bringing along that are a lot more fun.
I had one little question left on that one. You say the stopping of small meteorites, right?
Right.
So if you built that back into the suit, maybe you could stop it from being punctured by zombies trying to bite you.
Absolutely. They use for speed skaters something called Kevlar underneath their skin suits. And actually, if I was to employ some Kevlar layers, it could very easily stop cats clawing you or possibly even small arms rounds. I mean, BB
Wow.
fights would be great. As it is right now, it does great against snowballs. I can walk into any little fight and it just kind of deflect off of me.
Has this been tested?
It has.
Everybody get the orange man.
Well, first of all, I stand out like a sore thumb. Second, I'm so dork looking, everyone wants to pick on the geek. So, of course, I'm just standing there walking to class and doink, 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 pelt, pelt, pelt. And then you can hear it hitting your helmet. And it kind of makes your head jerk a bit, but it won't stop. The suit stops it, so it's kind of hilarious.
That's awesome. That's very cool.
So maybe we've been taking the wrong approach to zombie defense through all these many episodes. Maybe we should have focused more on personal zombie defense. You can just walk down the street wearing one of Peter's little suits there.
But they kind of pile on.
True.
That's the dangerous part, because then you can't get out from under them.
Well, he also does Tesla coils, so maybe if you were to build some sort of electric skin on it.
Bug zapper suit, exactly.
Yeah.
So speaking of Tesla coils, you have, I think, what amounts to one of the most, just the most amazing pictures that I've seen of Tesla coils, next to you. I mean, they are ginormous. Like, not the Tesla coils necessarily, but the electrical arcs. So how did you get into Tesla coils, and what have you done with them?
Rewind to 1997. I took apart an air cleaner. It had a 7.5 kV module on it that was used to make the ion purifier thing work. And I had a 5-foot-long wooden rod, scared deathly of a 1/4 milliamp 7.5 kV module, thinking it was going to kill me. I got a bare hand these days. But fast forward 2001 or 2000, I won the science fair at my school and went to the California. I'm in the LA County Science Fair and got first honorable mention. A mentor named Dale Hall, who actually is a very well-known Tesla enthusiast and actually a professional engineer at TRW, now retired. He got me into making bigger and better coils. And I went from a car-powered coil in 2000 that put out about 4-inch long sparks to my biggest one I've made to date, which will almost do 12 feet or so.
Jeez.
And, through all the years, I've only been shocked once.
Mm-hmm.
And that once is enough. You learn very fast
No
that you
kidding.
do not touch this. And actually, I didn't really get shocked per se, as more as you get burned, because the frequencies that are involved go over your skin, not in your skin. But that's a whole other thing in its own right. But what's so funny about this whole thing is that, with Tesla coils, they're not safe to touch, even though a lot of people think they are. The skin effect is not really applied to the human body because it's not a very good conductor. But, then fast forward to 2004, I met a man named Jeff Parisi at KVAFX, who actually is the world's foremost leader in Tesla coil design. And, and his coils were used in Terminator 1, 2, and 3 as the lightning effects.
Nice.
So this guy is the man.
Right.
And he sold me a transformer I used to power my big one, a pole transformer, which that has been the greatest investment I've made in my life. And now Venom, my big coil, which sadly has kind of melted to pieces, not from high voltage arcing, but actually Mom decided to turn on the water spigot in the coil guard all wet. I turned it on the next hour, and instead of sparks coming out, a big black smoke came out instead.
Oh, no.
As the whole thing arced over and went.
Oh, no.
Because I use cardboard for the secondary foam, which absorbs moisture. And when you're dealing with, 6 million volts of electricity, anything that's conductive in the area will conduct, and it's going to arc flash over, and you're just gone.
Right.
Yeah. PVC next time, right?
Actually, it's also very lossy. You've got to use polycarbonate most of the time.
So, okay, I have seen Tesla coils. I haven't actually looked into how to make them. Can you give, the brief overview of how to make one?
Well, how to make one, not really about how they work, so you can make one, is pretty simple. All the idea is this. You're creating a high-frequency pulse through an inductor system. The secondary and the top load are one tune system. Think of one opera singer lady, okay? The primary is near opera senior lady. The spark output is a glass. As long as both lady 1 and lady 2 with big horns in their head,
Yeah.
as long as they're both singing the same frequency, they're going to resonate and cause the glass to break.
Right.
That's exactly what happens with the with Tesla coil. The primary is tuned to a certain frequency, like on a radio. Actually, it's the exact same circuit, a capacitor and inductor, and so is the secondary. It's also a capacitor inductor, and it does induce through a slight transformer action, although very loosely coupled, a electrical energy, electromagnetic energy into the secondary, which breaks out in a spark. And the reason it breaks out in a spark is actually due to a bad standing wave ratio. In fact, if you ever have a really big illegal CB radio station or a big ham legal radio station, you're running 1.5 kilowatts maximum legal power. You will see corona discharged on the top of your antenna on some frequencies if it's not in tune. Basically, all you build is this: you buy a neon sign transformer, you drink a 6-pack of beer in bottles, not in cans. Grab said bottles, aluminum foil, put salt water on the inside, and that's your capacitor. Spark gap is 2 volts. The secondary is just wound wire. So, I mean, the amount of the difference in quality of the components does not really dictate too much how much sparks you put out. All it does dictate how much losses you have. You can always throw tons of power into it and get output, but efficiency is going to be the key.
And you've had, I mean, from some of our conversations, you have really hardcore batteries, like battery systems.
Well,
right?
those don't power the Tesla coil. Actually, my big coil, Venom, runs on a pole transformer, and it draws close to 60 to 90 amps at 120 volts AC.
Yeah, with Tesla coils, you're dealing with AC.
Oh, I see.
Although, that said, I have right in my primary right here a 5 kVA rated backup power supply. It runs on 48 volts, and I'm tempted to actually make that to cut it down and remodify it and make that into a input driver for our neon sign transformers for our medium coil here at the University of Northern Iowa. So you actually make it run off a car battery, or actually 4 car batteries.
So, okay, question. So say we're like trying to make a Tesla coil for zombies, right? So you got your Tesla coil, right? Now, obviously you personally take safety precautions, so that you're not like, I don't know, dead, right? By the sparks or whatever. So how do you make sure that they don't have the same safety precautions? Like,
simple. Make sure they're not wearing any kind of conductive suit. As long as their skin's exposed, they're going to get a nice fat shock.
Oh.
Yeah. In fact, actually, the best way to keep you from getting shocked from Tesla coil is to wear basically a suit made out of chicken wire or any kind of conductive material.
Oh, like Faraday cage style.
Exactly.
Gotcha. So as long as they are not now, okay, question. So then, how does it get started? Like, so do you just have the power and then the sparks just kind of go everywhere, or like, or is it like, they're powered and then if somebody comes into view of the Tesla coil, that Tesla coil will arc a electrical thing at it?
It depends on how you tune it, actually. If you tune it out of frequency where it's not fully resonant, but you get really close, you can draw an arc off of it by touching the top load and pulling a stick away, that's grounded out or whatnot. But in normal mode, it goes in every which way on its own. And you can put something called a bop, also known as a breakout point, a nail basically, on the top load, which if there's a sharp point on that smooth toroid, sparks will want to tend to come off in that one direction. And actually, our friends at Mythbusters did a really cool test. That was pretty cool. And they actually used a squirt gun filled full of salt water and shot out from the top of a coil. Salt water, which then directs...
Very, very, very conductive salt
water.
Which
I tried that 2 years before they did. In the reverse order, I used a small needle, an inflation needle, and a garden hose, and shot water past my big coil. It wasn't even interested at all in the water. It said, hey, I like the bush better. Zap. The water was going by the coil's face by about 1 foot. It wasn't even, and it was. I doped it with sulfuric acid, and so it should have been really conductive.
Yeah.
It didn't even look for it. They didn't even care.
Interesting.
So that's interesting. Yeah.
But that's a good thing, because then we could use. I mean, if we could get it to work, then we could use super soakers filled with salt water, right? And then shoot it towards the zombies, and then the arcs would travel with it to kill him. It'd be like a double whammy.
Only if you actually were inside the top of the coil.
Oh.
You shot it out. Or, then again, I'll be honest, you can also, with a Tesla coil, you can also load up things, attach the output to various objects and make them hot, electrically hot.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone touches that, they're going to get a nice shock. Making the world's most annoying electric fence. Mm-hmm.
Nice. I like it. Now, speaking of like electricity and such, you do storm chasing. Right?
Yes, I do.
What's involved in that?
Well, I must first admit, NOAA does not condone chasing, only spotting, where you sit in one place and you watch with binoculars, kind of like bird watching kind of thing.
So you're a storm spotter.
You can be trained to be a storm spotter. If you chase on your own free will, they don't want to know about it. That said, a lot of us do. I'm a ham operator also, so I also assist with U.S. Air Patrol for search and rescue, and I love being involved in the chase and helping out people with disaster communications, etc. And to the point where when I came to Iowa, we don't have much this way of down aircraft like for CAP. We do, however, have lots of tornadoes, lots of them. And 2 years ago, it actually almost caused my mom's car to be pulled in pieces. Not the tornado, but the chase. That said, what's funny to mention is that this whole thing of storm chasing, you learn a lot about how the weather around you works. And honestly, I'll be honest here. When I chase, I'm not interested in tornadoes at all. I like to see lightning.
Sure.
Oh my gosh. It's like my death fate right there. I go out there and I will sit next to the car and go, strike me. I don't know outside. I sit in the car, but my old chase car had a sunroof and would open the sunroof and the camera out the top and
oh my gosh,
snap photographs. And I love chasing it because there is something about nature's electricity. I mean, we all look at 9-volt battery as a kid, right? I mean, I'll get a little tingle. But then you go outside and you go, oh my gosh, look what she has out there.
Yeah.
All Linus, that's over 20 miles long.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you look at your Tesla coil and you go, that's so tiny. 12 feet seems so tiny. And it needs to be bigger.
So, I mean, so do you personally know, can you tell just by looking at weather reports where a storm's going to be?
I can. I'm not a meteorologist, but I've been around enough chasings and enough things. I can kind of reckon things. And especially in Iowa has a certain weather pattern where things come from a certain direction. Certain things are very likely to happen. And so you can kind of guess where it's going to go next. And you're usually 90% of the chance right. Meteorologists do the same thing too. They find a usual pattern and go with it.
Mm-hmm.
Weather is very cyclic. So you can kind of guess what kind of day of the month it is for the weather by where it's going on. The nice thing about storm chasing is that you can actually get there and get up there and get messy, get dirty, and get personal. You can really see what's going on, and every chase is unique.
Sure.
And actually, the irony is this: the thing that got me into high voltage and chasing eventually. Well, it was my first pre-high school class in an electronics vocational class in high school, and they put on, because the teacher was gone for the day. They put on the movie Twister of Helen Hunt, and I said, I want to do this. And of course, I'm a little boy stuck in California, pre-ninth grade. I'll never get into this. I'm out here in community college, and we've rigged my mom's old car with more sensors on it than the Batmobile, and we're barreling on the freeway, all lights ablaze. And
wait, did your mom go with you?
No, my mom gave me her old car, which it got totaled in the process.
In the process of storm chasing?
Yeah, I wasn't driving, someone else was driving, and they were texting. I didn't know about it until it was late. I mean, they blew a light in Des Moines and got sideswiped after the storm was done. Oy,
that sucks.
I was like, okay, if it gets told during a hailstorm, that's one thing. It's a line of duty. But on the way back, some guy was texting his girlfriend.
Well, with all those sensors too.
What kind of sensors packs did you put on there?
I put on there a wind speed indicator, a lightning detector, which I rigged to a basic stamp to do counts. How many counts it strikes, it actually counts. I also rigged up there all my ham radio gear and on 3G modems, I can access the internet and get live radar updates. I don't actually own a DAO, radar truck. I can't afford one. They're millions of dollars, but I can tap into NOAA's radar in real time through our iPhones and our laptop, and that was useful. And I also did something pretty cool too. I used a computer fan as an anemometer. That was pretty nifty. Most computer fans they have a hall sensor that reads pulses out. That third wire on your computer fan reads RPM.
Right. Right.
So
If you can do
just
the
if you can discombobulate the drive section so it won't drive, it'll just freewheeling. You just put the computer fan up in the windstream, and you put that pulse counter back in there. You can find the curve for that and do some math, and there's your miles per hour.
Nice. And did you calibrate that by sticking it out the window, watching the speedometer to find your curves?
I use GPS, but very close. Yes, we drove down the inactive runway, at local airport, and just floored it and got various curves. That was fun.
How'd you get permission to do that?
Well, it's inactive. The airport's closed. It's actually condemned.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's called using your resources.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, okay, so say we want to bring the zombie crowds in to the eye of a storm, right? How would you wait.
What? Are you now baiting zombies so that they go into the eye of a tornado?
Into the tornado, yeah.
You're such a weird chick sometimes.
But well, this is imagination, right? So what weather patterns would you be looking for? Like, what things would you be noticing on your sensors?
Well, the sensor I have is actually my eyes, my ears. Usually, when there's a storm, you're going to have wet. You're going to have a temperature differential issue between two areas, and you're going to have wind. Those three things, plus a little bit of luck, equals big storm real fast in Iowa. Or actually anywhere in the Midwest. So, as far as sensors are concerned, pressure changes can show a cold front or a warm front coming in or out. For instance, visibility in the sky. You can use a laser pointer to see how high it goes. Not anymore. Actually, we use IR lasers because they don't actually will do anything. But there's ways you can do cloud height using IR reflectometry, using a laser point. It's actually a burst, a little microsecond burst, and then it bounces off. So it actually it can't hurt anyone. You can use a reflectometry to find your ceiling height. You can also release weather balloons too, which is kind of cool, which is its own little thing.
Have you done that?
Actually, I have not directly, but a friend of mine I work with, I help him with something called Project IHAB. W0OTM, Marshall Diaz, down in Ottumwa, launched the Iowa High Altitude Balloon Project. And this was launched 2 years ago or so. And I was there the first and the third launch. And it carried in actually a medical cooler, believe it or not, for a heart transplant. It was one of those foam packaging things.
Right.
In that little strapped in device, looks like the size of a beer cooler, like about a foot cubed. We had in there a radio transmitter, actually 3 different transmitters, battery packs, and a camera. And it did time lapse of the entire thing going up and down. It tracked itself. We found it using APRS on the way back down and found the thing. And actually, I actually found it in the cornfield. It was pretty cool.
Nice.
And it was so sweet. And actually, I think we hit what? It was either 89,000 or 98,000 feet.
Very nice.
Pretty darn high up there for a balloon.
Yeah, no kidding.
Huh. But those things will tell you your weather patterns, and that will tell you where things go. Generally speaking, look for something called the RFD, the rear flank downdraft. That's where most tornadoes actually occur. You'll see this little hook in the back of a storm. And that hook and it curves in on itself. That's where the most statistically accurate zone is for tornadoes to start. They can happen anywhere in the storm, front or back of the storm. But 80% of them start right in that area. And if you ever see this thing called a green band, it looks like it's more of actually a tealish, misty color than a green. But you'll see this obvious green thing happening in the sky. That's a surefire sign of you are now extremely likely to have a tornado. It's very possible. The tornado conditions are there. They're not exclusive, but that's another one of those signs from above to take shelter.
That is so freaking cool. Now, have you had to take shelter? Like, have you had to go under a highway bypass thingy, or like just sit in your car?
Not highway. I have actually. When I was at my old community college, I was unofficially a storm liaison for them. So I would have, if I knew there was going to be bad storms, I'd put my weather radio on me, and it would go off like an alarm pager if it was going to get really bad. And I have corralled students during a tornado that supposedly broke out. It wasn't actually confirmed, but some people did spot it. Fellow spotters see it on the radio. They saw a tornado touch down near Ottumwa off one of the highways, and I heard that on the radio before it got on the actual NOAA weather radio. And I corralled everyone in my dorm to take shelter in the storm area of the dorm, which I don't know how really helpful that was, but As far as us, when we storm chase, well, we've had to stop a few times because the visibility got too bad to drive. But as far as tornadoes breaking out, the overpass thing actually is a bit of a joke because
Oh.
actually it caused the wind tunnel effect. If it really actually went directly over a overpass, tornadoes are narrow enough to an extent that it would suck out one side at a time and create a huge,
Oh,
orifice
sure.
effect. So it'd pull things through the overpass, unless you're actually up in the girders. Um, you're going to be, within the line of fire, basically, of this giant vacuum cleaner.
But you can usually drive fast enough away from a tornado, right?
If you know where you're going, yeah, the problem is that I hope you're going to break a few traffic laws in the process. They don't go more than 80 miles an hour. They're 30, 40 miles an hour, depending on the ones you find.
Right.
So, yeah, on an open freeway, if you're going the right direction, you happen to be right going on Highway 80, yeah, you could probably outdrive one. The problem is that if you're a storm chaser like us and you're on the back bumpy roads in the middle of nowhere in someone's cornfield,
Right.
you take the wrong turn at Albuquerque, you're kind of out of luck.
True. Huh. Very interesting. I think we should go storm chasing, Whisker. I think that'd be terribly exciting.
When is the peak season for that?
It starts as early as February, but really it's very, very random. There is some peak. June, July is oftentimes May, June, July are oftentimes the highest months because of the temperature, which can cause things to break out spontaneously.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean spontaneously. Ooh. And then, but really, the peak season varies where actually you live.
So, for those who don't know, Addie and I are heading out to Rockland, California this April for the Parallax Expo, and
Woohoo!
Peter is riding with us on the way out,
Woohoo!
and we get to drive through Iowa and Nebraska.
So if you should bring your sensors. You should bring some of your sensors because
actually, I am going to bring the wind speed sensor.
Sweet.
I want to bring it along so I can get it working again.
So we may get some video in the field of
storm
Peter
chasing
running away from a tornado.
One of the nice things about being in the middle part of the United States, you actually are around a lot of different storm systems that are possible. The Tornado Alley, as it's called, covers Nebraska and Iowa, its upper area, even into a bit of Minnesota, all the way down into in Texas. And when you're in Texas, there's a lot of big storms down there. And it's true. Big storms, big state, big Texas. So that's the way it works. And the neat thing about storms, though, is they're not discriminatory. They're the same kind no matter where you go. But each one is kind of a little different. Iowa rainstorms. That's the thing about Iowa. Everyone says Iowa's where it's like, a lottery ticket. It changes every single day. If you don't like the weather out here, simple. Wait half an hour.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to change. And it's true. It's gone from absolutely beautiful outside in the morning to, by the time I left my class at 8 p.m., there was a foot of snow on the ground last year. Mm-hmm.
Last year was kind of crazy for snow. That's true.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, so it's going to be April when we go to this trip. So if it turns out that we get to chase a few storms along the way, we'll be sure to do some recording of said storm chasing.
And if the storms
Absolutely.
are chasing us, that'll just help us to get to Rockland on time easier.
Because we'll be trying
Exactly.
to
We'll have some tailwinds.
Every cloud has a silver lining, even the one that's trying to eat you.
Well, not the zombie cloud. But as long as the cloud eats
Now, you were
the
talking about
zombies.
the luring the zombies into the funnel of a tornado.
Right.
And I think that would probably be a really epic climax of a zombie movie.
I think so.
Oh, yeah.
So-
Instant decapitation. Right there you go.
You heard it here first, guys. Before Hollywood gets around to it, ZombieTech.
That's awesome.
We're going to decapitate them via a giant hoover in the sky.
There you go.
Well, we did
Yep.
talk to a guy who designs fans for a living, and there was some talk about maybe some giant fan chopping zombie action. Yeah.
One suck, one chop.
So a leaf blower mated with a shop vac.
Right. Exactly. There you go. Or a leaf shredder.
Yeah, that's right. A chipper made of a shop vac. There you go.
Right. So then, okay, now speaking of transportation and getting away, you also came up with your own form of transportation because your knee was busted.
Yeah, thanks to a little ballet injury I had many years ago. I have my knees are like Dr. House. I'm cranky, minus the Viking and the cane. I'm kind of cranky, so I walk around. I kind of hobble around. This school at UNI has got a great bus system, but it's not there at later hours of the evening.
Mm-hmm.
So, and plus, I like my independence. And I said, well, I can get a wheelchair, a Segway. I want to get a Segway. Probably really currently afford one, but I could. But they weigh like 80, 90 pounds, and my doorway isn't big enough to put one in front way. I have to drag it up by the neck of the thing and drag it in.
Mm-hmm.
And I've driven them before. They're great. They're a lot of fun, but the problem is you're still standing on your legs and your knees.
Right.
It's not going to solve anything.
Right.
Besides a glorified Roman chariot. A mini scooter, a standard scooter, has got wheels that are very tiny, and the potholes here are the size of Texas.
Right.
Sorry, Texans, it's true. And
big Texas, big storms, big potholes.
Big potholes. Exactly. So what happens is that, you get said wheel and said pothole, Peter's going to have traumatic brain injury, not just knee problems. So we don't want this. My job's engineering. I need a working brain.
Right.
So
then what did you end up doing?
Well, big bikes are too big. I don't need a 36-inch wheel size. I found folding bicycles. They're a nice frame. There's only one rod in the middle. None of this A-frame thing, so it's easy to mount battery packs to. They're pretty cheap, and they're smaller wheels. The one I have has 16-inch diameter wheels, and originally it folded in half, but I welded that shut. I don't really need that being a feature at all. I added some batteries to it and a motor and a speed controller, and now it's a fully convertible electric bicycle.
How fast can it go?
Well, I've tamed it down, so it's legal. It's at the maximum voltage of the speed controller at 60 volts. I was clocking 27 to 30 miles an hour up the hill.
Nice.
That's not too shabby for what was a motor the size of a coffee can.
And you don't have to pedal, right?
No, actually, there are no pedals in mine because I figured I can't use them anyways with my knee. The whole motion thing kind of will crack my kneecaps real fast.
Right.
So, I got a plasma cutter in my right hand here. Snip, snip. Part of it is also it's very hard to integrate the drive will be hard to integrate with the pedal assembly. So I decided we'll just don't need it.
Just avoid it. Sure.
Yeah.
So it can go 27 to 30 uphill, but is that within legal limits?
No, 50 miles an hour is the max you can go on a electric powered assist bicycle.
Although can't you bike faster than that? Haven't there been bikes that are 21 miles an hour?
Oh, absolutely. As long as it's human powered. The electric assist part can't get you above 15. That's the legal limit.
All right, and I would imagine that people are starting to design electric motorcycles now, and do the same limits apply to those?
No, as long as they're a motorcycle and they're actually a fully licensed motorbike, then and you're licensed for it, doesn't matter at all. But the thing is, though, e-bikes are legally classified in all 50 states now as plain up bicycles. They cannot be chosen out. So as long as if it fits the criteria of the max speed and horsepower, it's now classified as just a bicycle. There's a lot of the difference between that and your thighs. It says it's the same thing. So you can go anywhere on any trail you want, any sidewalk, as long as the bike laws apply to the sidewalks, bike lanes. You're now out in the bike lane. So it's kind of actually a cool thing. Now, in theory, if I wanted to do it just right and just legal, I could actually have it be less than 15 miles an hour and less than 1 horsepower in e-bike mode, but add to it a 1.5 horsepower or 3 horsepower whatnot motor to the hub in the front fork, and have it go into have plates on it I can drop down, and I could actually theoretically legally. It looked really weird, but I could go from a bicycle on a sidewalk, segue, no pun intended, into a full street, drop into high speed mode, drop the 60 volt battery pack in line while I'm pedaling along, or at least off the pedals if I had them, and now it's a legalized motorbike.
That'd be brilliant.
It is. And as soon as I disengage the high-powered motor, legally, it's only an e-bike. Now, the police officers probably won't have a clue how it works at all, and that ain't their baby. But as far as the law is concerned, black and white, that would be legal.
That would be
now,
brilliant.
in case of zombies, all regulations go out the window. How would you do it?
Me? I'd probably shot more lead to this thing than a tank. But that's a battery, so let's go for it. The speed controller is rated for 24 to 60 volts. The motor is rated at 36. You guys know me too well. Ratings don't mean anything. That's the recommended value. I can easily push that to 90 volts. Actually, I pushed it. I did some fancy finagling with the speed controller and some extra MOSFET stuff, and I actually got it to 72 volts. That's when I was clocking 31 miles an hour on a flat.
Wow.
This is on a folding bicycle.
And did you have to buy tires that could handle that?
Tires? Rated for that? No. I just really hope to God they didn't blow.
All in the name of science, folks.
Oh
Full
my
speed ahead.
gosh.
It actually was. I was trying to find the motor curve. Honestly, officer, it's really just science testing. I gotta find its regression curve for calculus.
That is too
So-
funny. That's too
But
funny.
actually, I'm running it at 28 volts. Although sadly, I made some severe miscalculations with the cold. Nickel metal hydride batteries don't die as easily in the cold as much as lead acid does. That's the reason why I went to hydride. They're not, as picky about the cold here in Iowa.
Mhm.
However, I did not calculate them being stuck in the cold for 2 hours during class time outside of a building.
Oh, sure.
That saps enough power that when you try to pull a high load on it, like 20 amps to get going, it'll sag below 24 volts, and the speed controller cuts out. So
what'd you do?
unfortunately, well, ironically enough, I'm getting a whole new battery pack. I had a freshman at my school charge up my battery pack for me, and he kind of blew it up. He put it on a 3 amp charge, not a 300 milliamp charge, and in about 5 minutes, I had flames pop down my battery pack. No flames,
Wait,
just smoke.
3 amp versus 300 milliamp?
Correct.
That's psychotic.
It is.
That's a really big difference.
It's an order of
Well,
magnitude.
they are 10 amp hour rated cells, so it'll charge in like 15 minutes or whatnot. The only thing is that that's great and all, but I had to hook it up, and then I was going to go take it off, but I forgot to unplug it, and unfortunately, it was on for an hour, so the whole battery pack was melting apart. All the hot glue I used attached the cells into a nice brick, which was done really well. And hot glue is not a bad way of doing it. It actually is a standard way of building cell packs, but unfortunately, it got so hot that
It just
the heat
melted.
shrink, first of all, it actually split off all the cells. And they were getting all these nasty odors. Thankfully, I managed to wedge the battery packs off the bike frame. And that day there was snow outside in Iowa. I buried the battery packs in snow 6 feet under so they wouldn't explode from the heat. And actually, the cold of the snow, would have contained any kind of problem. So I have $200 in D cell batteries that are now dead.
Ugh.
The good thing is I'm going to bump it to 36 volts. The motor is rated at 36. It was designed to run at 36. And
Might
at
as
36
well.
volts, I have enough headroom that if it drops to 28 or drops to 27 when I load it up, there's enough headroom there that drop and sag of voltage from the high current being pulled isn't going to absolutely, blank out the scooter too bad. Plus, the other thing, too, is this, too. 28 volts is an odd voltage. From the standpoint, you can't find chargers for it. You can't get this for it.
Mm-hmm.
36 is far more common. Not as common as 48 or 24, but 36 volts is a common scooter voltage. So I can get real chargers, real accessories, real headlamps, yada, yada.
And do you do most of your research just by Googling like other people who have done it, or like how does that work? Because
Part of it was done via trial and error. Part of it was just done from previous experiences. I've converted full cars to EVs, well, assisted with one, actually. I've made my own golf cart in 4 days from scratch into an electric vehicle.
Wow. Why'd you do that?
Well, a friend of mine sold me $100 a back axle to an 8 horsepower rated golf cart, electric golf cart.
Uh-huh.
Actually, I think it was probably one of those Taylor done industrial vehicles, not actually a true golf cart, but a golf cart size industrial truck, one of those things.
Right.
Well, I got the back axle attached to the motor, so all the mechanical parts were already there. I just bought some wheels and I welded onto it. I bought the gold plated ones from Harbor Freight Tools because they had a nice rim look to them. The gold anodized ones.
all your bling.
I was gonna say I got bling, but no suspension. I went down to the local steel place, bought $100 in steel, made my own front steering system from scratch. TIG welded the whole thing in one day. The next day I wired it up using some wire I bought from Lowe's, and the last day I bought some batteries. Bought some batteries from Interstate Batteries, something called Blems. They're blemish batteries. They're kind of not all looking that great, but they're like half the price of standard batteries, and they're great. and it was 48 volts, and the thing can move. And the thing is, I ran out of money. I only had $400 to spend on this whole thing, and I ran out of money on it, and so I ended up putting a contactor, aka a big honking switch. When you push the pedal down, the thing will go. There's no hesitation involved. You're dumping the whole battery pack across the motor, and this thing actually, beyond my control, would always leave skid marks in our driveway when I started it up. It was, I was like, and I think it had more acceleration to 30 miles an hour than my dad's Benzie did. This thing could get up and go. When it goes, and my seat, I borrowed permanently from my mom's kitchen, her folding step stool, and MIG welded to the front frame.
Yeah, you're crazy sometimes.
It was so. It's more redneck than I was. That says something. Sorry, guys, but it's true. And but in the end, I learned a lot about how to build EV drive systems. And my first era built EVs. Actually, I made my own dragster from scratch. That was in 2002. I watched a show called Junkyard Wars. Is that something familiar to you?
Yep. Oh yeah, great show.
I was actually casted to go on the sister show called Junkyard Dogs.
What?
But at the last minute, yes, Discovery Communications decided to cancel the show due to legal reasons. They couldn't get insurance clearance for kids to work on the show. I just turned 17 at the time. I was like, I want to weld.
Oh,
and I know. And Diana Berman, who's actually in charge of that, I got an email from her saying, I'm really sorry this happened. I'm really, really sorry. But I was casted, ready to go on the show and fly out to England and be filmed. A big break in engineering.
I know.
But I learned from that, and that show inspired me to get a small little tiny arc welder and learn how to weld and build things. I said, I can buy things, but having your own tools means you can cut costs a lot.
Right.
Like my drags I built, I use a UPS dolly. You know those hand trucks has two wheels in the front?
Yep.
I fell on it one day in my garage and landed on it pretty hard too. And I said, wait a minute. It's long. It's got two wheels. Dragster. So I used like 40 zip ties to attach the front wheel from a Razor scooter, which is aluminum. So you can't aluminum steel.
You use zip ties?
Tons of them.
Oh my gosh.
And duct tape. Carpe ductum. Seize the tape.
Yeah.
I am in awe that you're still alive.
Oh, so am I. Oh, it gets better. On the back plate, I welded a 1/4-inch plate to hold the battery pack over the back axle. And I use from the Subaru dealership, I got a starter motor designed for a 4-cylinder engine. I kludged this all together with my welder. I mean, the welds look like absolute trash. Made it all work. A few welds broke. And I did a final test with me in it. It had so much torque that unless you actually lean forward, it would flip you over on your back. So I looked in our garage, and sitting from when we retiled the bathroom was a big old bag of kitchen grout, right? And I did a test. I was going on the neighborhood, hauling on the neighborhood full speed, and I had to stop. And I forget exactly what happened, but the bag fell, the ballast bag in the front to keep it flipping over, fell off the thing. It was just laying in the front there, kind of just fit perfectly. And it tore open. And this day, and the rain came the next week, and so it mixed the grout up a bit more. So if you look carefully at my old house in California, down the cul-de-sac heading towards my garage is this white line of where the kitchen grout is adhered to the nicely new paved black tarmac. And you can go, that's that one day. Yeah, this thing moved, and it's amazing how much power there's in a motor the size of a soda can called a starter motor. They're extremely high torque for what they are, and ends up it never burnt the motor out. What ended up burning the motor out is I welded to the case too many times and it fried the windings. I didn't think about that when I was building this, but it was. I learned a lot then, the process about how electric vehicles work, and then I made go-karts, all kinds of things, and so that, for me, my e-bike was like, oh, easy. And I really actually built, if you had to put down hours with the time, I could have built it all in 3 days. It was over the course of 2 different weeks because I had to order parts in and stuff like that. But besides that, it was really honestly done, and time-wise, 3 days.
Sure.
So if our rental breaks down on the way out to California, we'll just take the starter motor, the battery, some of the luggage, and zoom, off we go.
Yeah, until your battery dies out. At 200 amps draw or more, you're going to have a heck of a short ride. That said, speaking of road trips, when my mom and I dropped me off in Iowa out here, we went through the same route we're actually take out there. And Ray, as we're going through one of the high passes in the mountains, I heard this noise, and ends up one of the what was it that got loose? I forget. It was the CV boot got loose on my mom's car, and it was right before we hit Denver actually. So we went into this Zarlengo's Auto Center in Denver, and he fixed it up for us. So from like 2 hours, and we got back on the road again. You know, the reason why we took that one highway route is the month before I left to go to Iowa, I watched on the History Channel the $1 Million Highway series on Modern Marvels, and I learned about how cool that Highway 70 was. You know, that goes through Colorado and the you know, what's that place called again? Isn't the Great Valley? It's Grand Canyon. You know, that whole area.
Okay, sure.
That whole highway. So we took the scenic route, so to say, and learned a lot about that. It was really cool. So I was 4 days to go from California to Iowa, and it was the most amazing road trip of my life. Once you go across country, you will learn to respect the USA so much more. It isn't just California, you know, Minnesota, New York, Chicago. There is so much to this country that most Americans will never see.
Yeah.
And once you see it, you go, wow.
And that's exactly why we're choosing to drive out to Rockland for the expo instead of flying. It could be a 2-day, over the weekend sort of deal. Instead, we're going to do 12 states in 12 days.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to be stopping at all our online friends' places along the way. It's going to be really fun.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
All right, Peter, we have a couple of questions that we like to ask every ZombieTech guest.
Right.
Okay.
So, I know we've been talking about the toaster, but what would be your ideal form of transportation in the zombie apocalypse?
To quote Elton John, electric boots.
Electric boots?
Electric boots.
What are electric boots?
Think of powered rollerblades.
Uh-huh.
Sonic the Hedgehog meets air shoes.
Wait a minute. So you're gonna roller skate your way through the zombie apocalypse?
Yes, exactly. Because you can use some pretty cool air tricks with rollerblades. Jump over things. If you're really into the whole street running scene and parkour, and you can actually really kind of do the old Spider-Man thing.
Uh-huh.
I've always wanted to have. And actually, I can't skate with a darn. I fall my butt.
Okay, but see, that's the problem. You can't skate, and there are zombies coming all over. So I mean, that could be one of your tools. But
if it wasn't for the shoes, I'd say a gyrocopter because they're really cool.
A gyrocopter.
They're easy to make. They're really easy to fly, and they're really cool.
Would you have ammunition on it or anything?
Well, there's this movie James Bond called Only Live Twice, and this little gyrocopter called Little Nelly. The little yellow and black and white one. Well, I actually just watched that a few nights ago when I went to bed, and that actually inspired me to say that because I've always wanted to fly one.
Yeah.
And they're I've flown some light aircraft, right hand seat in the past, but those are really cool to fly. And so for ammunition, I would probably have a deployable electric shock bomb. Think about taser meets napalm. The idea here is that you drop this thing, anything within 20-foot range gets a giant defib, basically.
Nice.
Charging clear.
I accept.
How viable would an electric gyrocopter be?
Well, not the gyrocopter electric, but actually the drop. It can drop electric bombs. It can drop EMP. It's got on there.
No, I got you. I was asking though, how viable would an electric gyrocopter be?
I actually was reading on the internet. They're actually starting to make hybrid airplanes. I know that sounds kind of scary thought.
Wow.
Your Prius dies in the middle of the air, but actually,
your Prius dies in the middle of the air. He says.
Yeah, or in the case of a Prius, it won't stop moving. Unfortunately.
Well, if you base it off of a leaf, you can just float your way down very quickly. Smash.
Well, actually, gyrocopters are so good on their thrust to travel ratio that actually a lot of them, technically the way they work, they actually are constantly falling. They're constantly falling with enough angle of attack for all through auto rotation that they lift again. I don't know how to explain it, but really, the way gyrocopters work, actually, they already are in free fall constantly, in essence, to the point where, if those things did decide to, be sawed, the actual drop wouldn't be that bad.
Okay.
Actually,
as long as you know how to drive it.
Oh yeah. Supposedly the space shuttle, when it flies in, rest its soul, actually has more brick effect, literally brick effect, than a gyrocopter does.
It's good to know. That's why I won't be on one of those anytime soon. Okay. So, 3 tools that you would bring to your zombie apocalypse bunker. And just to let you know, a toolbox can be considered as one tool.
Oh, I'm a toolbox. They all fit in my hand. Tool number 1, sonic screwdriver.
Sonic screwdriver?
We've
Yes.
had
We have
people,
one.
yeah, say that before.
Paul-
It's a
Paul-
handy one.
Did mention the sonic screwdriver.
Sorry, Doctor Who, but it has to happen. What else I'd bring along? I'd probably bring along, I don't know, probably my tough book, actually, my laptop.
Okay.
With all those accessories in its pouch. So that's
Yeah,
one.
I mean, you got to rebuild civilization. If you've got a nice, easy to recharge, hardened laptop, that's a useful thing to have.
This thing will stop small arms round and still read internet the next day. I like this laptop.
Yeah, I've seen his laptop in person. It's got one of those bulletproof hard cases on it. It's pretty cool. And he's got a little cell wireless data thing that he plugs into it, so you can be
That's
online
handy.
from anywhere.
That's handy.
And the last thing I'd probably bring along, their underwear.
Awesome. Gotta
Yeah.
have clean underwear.
Exactly.
His tool of choice, clean underwear. That's great. Okay.
Actually, you know why?
Why?
Someone told me that they actually turned a pair of briefs into a belt for a car air conditioner once.
Oh, so it's not just for
Or
protecting
a slingshot.
Oh.
Swing.
You could also use it as a false trail for zombies who
true.
are chasing you. Just hang your
True.
underwear off of a road sign and go the other way.
Oh gosh, or flagpole.
This is such a serious show. I love it.
Okay, and then last question. How would you zombie-proof the bunker?
I would have the bunker be made of 2 plates, an inner and an outer plate, charged at 45,000 volts. Basically, it's a giant floating capacitor. If you decide to touch the doorknob, you're going to be incinerated by about 5,000 joules of energy.
Yeah, the beautiful part about that is once you charge them, they pretty much just stay charged until something touches it.
But then what if a second thing touches it?
Well, you got to recharge it.
They'll
If it's,
recharge again. They'll recharge again.
it only
They'll just-
recharges them if they're empty.
Solar
How
array
lo-
and whatnot.
How long will it take to recharge?
Depends on how many amps you can do. Remember, it's an RC time constant. So, if you can
Goddamn
supply
constants.
enough juice, that'll work.
Huh. Okay.
All right, I don't want to skip the book question with Peter. So,
Right.
Peter, you get one book in the zombie apocalypse.
Oh dear. The ham radio handbook.
Ah,
Really?
Nice.
Yeah. I hate to say it's true.
And
Huh.
that's got everything from basic circuits to antenna design, everything.
Does it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I should.
It's
but I
about 4
didn't.
inches thick too. It's a great book. Good
Yeah.
reading too.
I used to have a copy of one. It's a really, really good.
I
A
will.
lot of stuff in there.
I will.
And they
look into
also
that.
come on a CD too as a PDF, which comes with the book, which is fully searchable as a PDF and printable, which is really handy.
Yeah, that does sound handy, and it's compact.
Yeah.
All right, Peter. Is there any websites or anything that you'd like people to know about?
Sure, I have my main site, which is peterthethinker.com, And through that one site, if you click around various places, you'll find everything about me. That's kind of the one-stop shop to find me on Flickr, on, DeviantArt, and I also actually have my own kind of a forum-like place called the Live Build site where current projects I'm working on, like for instance the toaster and also the heat suit, are constantly being updated and shown off, and things are made available.
Awesome.
And, yep.
And then you can always.
We really didn't get to cover too much on it, but Peter's actually quite an accomplished photographer, so his Flickr is definitely worth checking out.
Yes. And you'll get to see some of the awesome Tesla coil pictures with like absurdly large electrical arcs.
Actually, I've got to unlock all those again. Ever since the whole SOPA debate thing happened, I actually decided to prioritize most of my photographs for a little while until the whole thing boiled over. I haven't had a chance to unlock them, so by the time this stuff hits the air, you out there hear this, I'll have them undone tonight in about 5 minutes. But, yeah, that said, absolutely. And, the thing is, too, is that Tesla coil picture, the only reason I got into SLR photography was to do long exposures of my Tesla coil. That's where it all starts. Those first shots you see on the first page, I think like page 105 on the right-hand side, far down, that's what got me into photography. And now I've got, I think, close to, if you did the full retail price, I think I have like close to $10,000 in camera gear. I love being a camera guy.
Nice. Well, you'll have plenty of pictures to take of Nebraska.
Yay!
I think I'll save my my RAM space.
All right, Peter. Thank you for joining us this week on
and thank you so much for
ZombieTech.
interviewing me.
You guys out there can listen to this show every Thursday at ZombieTech.tv, and you can of course find Addie and I on tymkrs.com. We're at tymkrs on Twitter, and pound tymkrs on Afternet is our IRC channel, where you can chat with Addie, myself, and Peter's in there too.
Yes, as well as many of the other ZombieTech guests.
Yep. So we will see all of you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.